Rejection is hard for anyone, but for narcissists, it's unbearable. Their entire identity is built on control and admiration, so when someone says no, their world crumbles. Why do they react so intensely, and what really happens when they face rejection? If you've ever dealt with a narcissist's explosive response to being turned down, this video will reveal the truth and how to protect yourself in the process. Rejection is something we all experience, but for narcissists, it's more than just a setback, it's a threat to their very identity. Their fragile ego can't handle the idea of being turned down, ignored, or dismissed. This often leads to explosive reactions, manipulative tactics, or even revenge. In this video, we're diving into why narcissists struggle so much with rejection, the surprising ways they respond, and what happens when they're forced to face it. Whether you're dealing with a narcissist or just curious about their behavior, this guide will help you understand and protect yourself. Let's get started. 1. Fragile ego. Narcissists may appear confident and self-assured, but beneath the surface lies a fragile ego built on insecurity. Their self-worth is often dependent on external validation, so when they face rejection, it feels like a personal attack on their identity. This deep insecurity makes them hypersensitive to any form of criticism or dismissal. Rejection exposes the cracks in their carefully constructed facade, leaving them feeling humiliated and powerless. Instead of processing this pain constructively, they may lash out or manipulate others to regain a sense of control, further highlighting their inability to handle vulnerability in a healthy way. 2. Need for constant validation. Narcissists thrive on constant validation, using admiration from others to prop up their self-esteem. Rejection, however, disrupts this flow of attention and leaves them feeling powerless and exposed. Without the external praise they rely on, they struggle to maintain their sense of superiority and self-worth. This loss of validation triggers intense emotional discomfort, often leading them to overreact in an attempt to restore control. Whether through manipulation, anger, or seeking validation elsewhere, narcissists will do whatever it takes to fill the void left by rejection, highlighting their dependence on external approval to feel secure. 3. Emotional overreaction. When faced with rejection, narcissists often experience intense emotional overreactions. Their fragile sense of self magnifies the pain, leading to feelings of humiliation and inadequacy. Rather than processing these emotions constructively, they lash out in anger, becoming aggressive or defensive. Some may exhibit sadness or self-pity, portraying themselves as victims to garner sympathy and regain control of the narrative. Others might resort to manipulation, such as guilt-tripping or love-bombing, to re-establish dominance in the situation. These overreactions aren't about the rejection itself, but their inability to cope with the loss of validation and perceived power. 4. Projection of blame. Narcissists struggle to take responsibility for rejection, as it threatens their carefully crafted self-image. Instead of reflecting inward, they project blame onto others, often accusing them of being unfair, ungrateful, or even malicious. This deflection allows them to preserve their sense of superiority while avoiding feelings of inadequacy. For example, they might say, "You're too sensitive," or "You just don't understand my worth," shifting the focus away from their own behavior. By externalizing fault, narcissists protect their fragile ego, making it nearly impossible for them to learn or grow from the experience of being rejected. 5. Fear of vulnerability. Rejection forces narcissists into a position they fear the most: vulnerability. Beneath their confident exterior lies a deep fear of being exposed as flawed or inadequate. When rejected, they're confronted with emotions like shame and insecurity, which they work tirelessly to suppress. These feelings threaten the carefully constructed image they present to the world, leaving them scrambling to regain control. Instead of embracing vulnerability and reflecting on the situation, narcissists often mask their discomfort through anger, blame, or manipulation. This avoidance not only prevents emotional growth, but also perpetuates their inability to handle rejection in a healthy way. 6. Attempts at retaliation. When faced with rejection, many narcissists respond with retaliation as a way to regain their perceived power and control. They see rejection as a threat to their dominance and a personal attack on their worth, triggering a need to even the score. This retaliation can take many forms, from subtle manipulation like spreading rumors or guilt-tripping to outright aggression or sabotage. Their goal is to shift the dynamic back in their favor, making the person who rejected them feel regret or discomfort. These vindictive actions stem from their inability to cope with vulnerability, reinforcing their dependence on control to mask insecurity. 7. Cycle of manipulation. Narcissists often respond to rejection by entering a cycle of manipulation aimed at regaining control over the person who rejected them. They might start with guilt-tripping, saying things like, "After everything I've done for you, how could you do this to me?" to evoke feelings of obligation. If that doesn't work, they may resort to gaslighting, making the other person question their memories or decision, saying things like, "You're overreacting," or "You're imagining things." In some cases, they use love bombing, showering the person with affection, gifts, or attention to lure them back. This cycle isn't about genuine care, it's about restoring their lost control. 8. Emotional collapse. While narcissists project confidence outwardly, rejection often triggers an emotional collapse in private. Away from others, they may experience intense feelings of shame, inadequacy, and worthlessness as their fragile self-image crumbles. This private breakdown can include moments of despair, self-loathing, or even emotional withdrawal as they grapple with the rejection's impact on their ego. However, these feelings are usually short-lived, as narcissists quickly shift back to self-protection mechanisms, such as blaming others or seeking validation elsewhere. This temporary collapse reveals the deep insecurity that drives their need for control and highlights how vulnerable they truly feel beneath their exterior. 9. Impact on relationships. A narcissist's inability to handle rejection has a profound impact on their relationships, often creating toxic dynamics. Their overreactions, blame shifting, and manipulative tactics can make others feel guilty, confused, or even afraid to assert boundaries. Instead of fostering healthy communication, these behaviors push people further away as trust and mutual respect break down. Over time, the narcissist's repeated inability to accept rejection damages their connections, leaving them isolated or surrounded by people who tolerate their toxicity out of fear or obligation. This cycle reinforces their struggles, as they continually sabotage the very relationships they seek to control and maintain. 10. Healing and moving forward. Healing and moving forward after dealing with a narcissist starts with reclaiming your peace and setting firm boundaries. Recognize that their reactions to rejection are not your responsibility, and prioritize protecting your emotional well-being. Clearly communicate your boundaries and stand by them, even if they push back or try to manipulate you. Limit contact if necessary, especially in toxic dynamics, and seek support from trusted friends, family, or professionals to process your experience. Focus on self-care practices like mindfulness, journaling, and engaging in activities that bring you joy. By prioritizing yourself, you can heal, grow, and build a life free from their influence. Dealing with a narcissist's reaction to rejection can be challenging, but protecting your peace and setting boundaries is essential. Remember, their behavior isn't your responsibility, and your well-being comes first. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights on navigating toxic relationships and prioritizing your mental health. Together, we can empower ourselves and others to heal and move forward. Take that first step toward reclaiming your peace today.